Now it looks good.
Well, so,
Okay.
So we're starting off with
I begin.
You begin.
Yes,
Okay.
yes,
Okay.
So here is an overview of the overall loop for the preparation for the production of materials. So the objective of the GLOPAC project, as presented in the video, was to produce some biodegradable materials, bio-based materials, and potentially active and intelligent packaging for 3 targeted applications. We also investigated the mixing of PHPP with lignocellulosic residues with the objective to reduce the overall cost of materials, but also the environmental impact while modulating the properties. If you want to produce final packaging, you see that you have a first intermediate step, which is called compounding. These steps allows to mix the different constituents, and then you have a final shaping step. And in the project, 2 routes were investigated, either injection molding by first blasts or thermoforming by quick box. So let's now see more in details this processing steps so that we will understand the bottlenecks that have been assessed. So PHPP were covered in the form of powders. And the first processing step is to produce some PHPP pellets by mixing these PHPP powders with nucleating agents, for example, boron nitrate. Because one first bottleneck of PHPP is a very slow crystallization. So if you want to process some material, you have this first compounding step. Then you have a second compounding step. If you want to mix this PHPP with additives such as lignocellulosic fibers or other biopolymers to produce some blends or active compounds to produce some active packaging. This compounding step will be developed by Cornelia.
Yes, and as Helen mentioned, the first step in the process chain was in the project, this compounding step. And during the compounding, the material is melted by temperature and shearing forces. And different compounders has been used in the project. You see some pictures here on the slide of the project. And for example, a twin screw extruder we used is good for a good mixing to integrate, for example, the nucleating agents or the fibers. The screw profile we used has different zones for plastification and homogenization of the material, that we have a good mixture of the final material. And on the picture you see on the left side, first the dosing unit for the polymer, and then the feeding unit to add these further ingredients. And then you see in the middle the strand extrusion of the polymer, the mixed polymer or the blended polymer. And then after a cooling, normally in a water bath, a pelletizing step is coming to make granules of the material.
Okay, and when we have these formulated PHPP compounds, we have investigated 2 routes. So the first route was the production of thermoform trays by Cookbox, but you can see that it's not possible to produce thermoform trays directly from the compounds. You have an intermediate step, which is a flat extrusion, and it was performed at Fraunhofer. The second route was injection molding, and this was the expertise of First Blast. And in that case, you can produce cups directly from the compounds. So Cornelia is going to give you some details about this flat extrusion, which was quite tricky to obtain sheets.
Yes, the flat film extrusion is one standard thermoplastic process to produce packaging materials. We used always a pre-drying step. This is important for all polyester you want to extrude, also for fossil-based polyester, because you have to avoid degradation at higher temperatures induced by humidity. And with this flat film extrusion, you can produce monolayer films. And in the case you have several extruder, you combine the different materials then to a multi-layer film structure with the different thermoplastic materials you use. And as Helen mentioned, it was really tricky to find here the right parameters. You can see the different pictures of the flat film extrusion line, and our aim was to produce thick films for the thermoforming process then at CoolBox. And on the next slide, it's again Helen.
Yes, so given this process, this different processing step, we had three main objectives. So to have the processability as most easy as possible, to allow the production of trays at industrial scales, to develop some materials with barrier properties that will fulfill food requirements, and also to develop materials that will present sufficient mechanical properties to allow their handling during the conditioning and usage phases. So just a point about the literature to explain you which assumption was done at the beginning of the project. So PHPV is a copolymer, so that means that you have a coexistence of two types of monomers, so hydroxybutyrate and hydroxyvalerate. And it was largely demonstrated in the literature that the relative proportion of monomers units has a significant influence on the microstructure and then on the behavior of the resulting copolymers. So they are copolymers, but they are also semi-crystalline. That means that in the polymer you have the coexistence of an amorphous phase, which corresponds to very disorganized polymer chain, and also a crystalline phase, which correspond to chains which are very well organized in crystallites. Here you have some interesting results given in literature. You see that if you increase the HV molar content, you decrease the melting temperature up to an HV content of 45%. You also decrease the crystallinity and you decrease the glass transition temperature. And also, if you increase the HV content, you can increase the elongation at break. The elongation at break corresponds to the maximal deformation that the material can display when it is elongated. So if you want to reach flexible materials, you will want to reach a high elongation at break. So based on this state-of-the-art, we made an assumption that was to reach a high HV content so that we will meet the flexible packaging specifications. As presented in the previous presentation, we achieved in the project to produce polymers with HV content between 18 and 20%, but also a HV content of 30%. And at the beginning of the project, first trials were made with these high-bed polymers. And unfortunately, we see that the materials remained brittle with a narrow window of processability. So we made some difficulties to produce sheets, especially, and with no possibility to produce flexible films. So the question were how to explain this unexpected behavior, because in the literature, the results were obtained on polymers obtained from, recovered from pure cultures. And the second question was how to play on the formulation, but also on the process conditions to modulate this processability and to achieve better mechanical properties. In literature, a large range of results is reported to explain differences of property from PHPV containing same HV contents. It could be the molar mass, but also the molecular architecture of the polymer. And what we wonder in the project was so additional questions, which was the impact of the purification step, how we can explain such unexpected behavior. The second question was, which could be the impact of the melt processing conditions. And the third question, how we can play on the formulation, also to change and to modulate this behavior. So we will, just to give you an overview of the materials that have been used, Cornelia.
Yes, with this table, we want to give you an overview regarding the different materials used in the project, and will announce also in the presentations later. So the first 3 lines, you can find the so-called, from our side, CLOPAC PHPV materials, the project materials produced by Innoven and IBET. With the higher HV content, you already heard in the presentation before. The third line is then mentioned PHPV blend with PBS, with 20% PBS. We also carried out trials, but also a lot of trials were carried out with commercial grades of PHPV. And here we used different suppliers, namely Natureplast and Helian. And of course, for example, the PHI002 and the NMAT polymer type, this seems to be the same grade delivered from Tianan, from China, to the different supplier, so that you have a better overview which material we are working. These grades have all HV contents around 3%. And one additional difference is the PHI003. This is a grade without additives and based on a powder. So here we start the process of the compounding to get granules. And I also want to mention PHI001 and a biomer grade, which are polymers with second biopolymer as a blend material, and we use this also in different trials. So I hope you can follow then better all the presentations.
So let's answer the 3 questions that was investigated in the project. So to assess the impact of the purification step, in fact, we performed 2 cycles of purification. So either 1 cycle of purification that was carried out by Biotrent in Portugal. So it's called P1, and then a second cycle of purification with exactly the same condition of purification. And you can see on this picture that depending on the cycles of purification, the microstructure of polymer is completely different. Here it's pictures that are taken by polarized optical microscopy. After only 1 cycle of purification, you can observe very big crystals and with some amorphous phase. And after a second cycle of purification, you have very, very little crystals and a very homogeneous structure. And when you characterize the mechanical properties, so it was tensile test. That means that you elongate the materials until the break. You can see, if you record the stress as a function of the elongation, that after a second cycle of purification, you increase all the mechanical parameters of the materials, so both the stress at break and also the elongation at break. So we try to understand why we had such difference, why the microstructure was so impacted by a second round of purification. And we see that using classical methods of characterization, such as molar mass, in fact, it was not so much impacted. But if we carry out some in-depth characterization using very advanced techniques, we see that and it was quite surprising, but after a second cycle of purification, the purity is decreasing. But why is it decreasing? It is because you increase, in fact, the content of inorganic compounds that can act as nucleating agents. And also what was very interesting is that the HV content was a little bit decreased, and this was attributed to the elimination of short polymers rich in HV. A second important characteristic was deduced from wide-angle X-ray analysis. This kind of analysis allows to characterize the crystalline structure very precisely of materials. and also to get the lattice parameters, so the dimensions of the very small lattice that is constituting the crystals. And you see that, okay, globally it's not very impacted if you only have a look on the patterns between the two purification levels. But if you measure the lattice parameters, you can see that you have an increase, a significant increase of one dimension of the lattice. And this was an indication of a better co-crystallization of HV and HB units. And another key information was deduced from advanced NMR techniques. Here in literature, it is well described that if you have some copolymers, you can have different types of organization, 3D organization, either alternating polymers, so it's a regular alternating of the two kinds of monomers. You can have random polymer, or you can have block copolymer. And it is largely demonstrated that if you have block copolymer, so with block of HB, then block of HV, and block and HB, block of HV, you have better interaction between this block, and so better mechanical properties. And with this advanced technique, we demonstrated that we obtained block copolymers in both cases, so it was a very good point for our project, but that after a second cycle of purification, we had better interactions between the HB and the HV blocks. So all this advanced characterization demonstrated the importance of the purification step, but also on the second round of purification. So now the second question, yes?
Yeah, I will go on with the impact of the melt processing conditions. So the PHBV material is very sensitive to high temperatures. At temperatures around or above 160 degrees, chain scission occurs. You can see here the formulas on the slides. And we really have to avoid the cut of the change and to produce small molecules. And due to this thermal sensitivity, the processing window between melting and degradation is narrow and have to be adjusted really good. And on the other side, we have the slow crystallization of PHBV. And therefore, the material is after the melting process and the processing really difficult to handle. And we have to use nucleating agents to be added to accelerate the crystallization process. And here we have really to find a good formulation and processing conditions to handle the material in the right way. So next slide, yes. And here you can see then our extrusion trials. First, we carried out as a processing step the compounding of the PHI-003 powder with bornitrit as nucleating agent into the pellets. And with a second process step, we carried out then a flat film extrusion to produce thick films for the thermoforming process. And it was really tricky to adjust the right temperature profile between blocking the nozzle of the extrusion line and liquefying of the polymer. But it was possible to extrude several running meters with the commercial grade, and it was also possible to avoid pulsating of the material and handle the slow crystallization. But due to the stickiness of the material, we wound silicone paper between the polymer layers, and therefore sometimes on the pictures the surface looked like a snake skin. And you can see here the color of the film. It's beige to brown, produced from the PHI-003 grade. And on the next slide, here you can see then the results we received with the Glopak material produced by IBET. If you compare the used temperature profile, you can see here lower temperatures were used in comparison to the commercial grade due to the higher HV content. And you can see also on the picture that the color of the project material is white, or the film looks a little bit opaque. And the material is again very sticky, but more flexible compared to the commercial grade.
And we had a look on the influence of the processing temperature on the mechanical properties, and you can see that depending on the temperature that you use to process the materials, you can have more or less flexible materials. So it's not like PP, where you can have a range of temperature to process the material. Here you can see that from a range of 10 degrees, you can change completely the behavior, the mechanical behavior of the polymers. So in the project, we determined some optimal conditions to process the grade developed by IBET. That was the percentage of nucleating agents, so the nitrate, but also the temperature of processing, and also the screw speed to avoid too high shearing forces during extrusion. And what should be keep in mind before you leave the room is that such in-depth study should be done case by case for each PHPV that is developed, because it's not a general conclusion that can be done on this type of polymer. And how we had so important differences in mechanical properties. So we had also in-depth study of these materials, and you can see that depending on the processing temperature, the microstructure is completely changing from homogeneous structure to big crystals and so on. And as you can remember, if you have big crystals, you have more brittle materials. So the last question was the impact of the formulation, just in the introduction of Cornelia, because I forgot to mention in the presentation. You see in the state of the art, if you increase the HV content, you decrease the crystallinity of the materials. So the idea, the assumption was, if we decrease the overall crystallinity, the blending with other biopolymers will be easier, because the amorphous phase is more important, so that you can more easily blend with other materials. That is why this strategy was investigated also in the project.
Yeah, and as Hélène mentioned at the moment, in the last run with the project material, we blended the PHPV with PBS, polybutylene succinate. And the blend material we used then for injection molding. And before we measured from the compound the melt flow index to estimate the processability. This index, the melt flow or melt flow rate, is used to characterize the flow behavior of a thermoplastic polymer at certain pressure and temperature conditions. And here it was difficult to find the right parameters to compare the different materials with the same conditions. But you can see that the blend materials show higher values of the MFR in comparison to the pure project material. And with different ratios of PBS, we have no significant deviation on the results with these different parts of PBS. And on the next slide, you can see then here some melting course. We decided to go with 20% of PBS and the mixture with PHPV. You see it on the picture, again on white granules. And we also hope to improve the flexibility of the material by adding PBS. And in the melting behavior, the impact of the 20% PBS is visible by a lower melting point. It's around 90 or 100 degree in comparison to the poor material with a melting point around 140, 150 degrees. And therefore we hope also to get a wider processing window.
So to conclude on these studies, the functional properties of polymers, and especially PHBV polymers, are governed by three main parameters: the glass transition temperature, the degree of crystallinity, and the crystal size and shape. If you want to target flexible materials, you will try to have a glass transition temperature as low as possible. You will try to have a very low crystallinity, and you will target very small crystals. And overall, what is important also is the homogeneity of this crystallization. These three parameters are governed by the composition, so the Hg content, the molar mass, and the type of copolymers, block, alternative, and random. And the parameter in blue can be controlled by the conditions of bacterial synthesis. But what you keep in mind is that you also have a red box with external conditions, so such as the condition of extraction and purification, and also the processing conditions that can have a strong impact on this green parameter. So even if you very well control the bacterial synthesis, you can completely destroy what was done perfectly if you don't choose the good condition of extraction and purification, and also the processing conditions. And it's quite typical of PHBV polymers.
Okay,
and Camilla will give you some key properties just to have an idea of the properties of the materials that were developed.
So therefore we measured the mechanical properties of the different films. And in the table, you can see a summary of some mechanical values. And for example, the reached values for the Young modulus, which stand for the rigidity of a material, are close to the properties of different standard polymers we also given in the last two line of this table. Regarding the potential applicability of the PHBV material as packaging material, the weak point is the brittleness, which is leading to very low values for the elongation and break. And improvements are necessary, as mentioned already before in some concepts we want to improve. And on the next slide, you see the barrier properties of the films we measured, standardized to 100 micrometers thickness. And you can see that the poor PHBV samples showed good barrier properties. The permeability for oxygen was below 40 cubic centimeter, and for water vapor permeability is under 6 grams. And these values are in comparison to other biopolymers low. And sorry, one back. The case for the higher values of PHI 001 is that is a blend with another biopolymer. Therefore, we have here higher values. And you see also that the project material in the last line showed slightly better barrier properties compared to the commercial grade. And then on the next slide, oh, no, sorry, one back. Yes, on the diagram, we displayed here the different water vapor transmission rate and oxygen transmission rate for standard fossil-based materials. And the green dot really in the middle of the diagram displays the values for the project Lowpack material. And you see we reach really comparable values to commercial grade materials or fossil-based materials, which are used at the moment. And here on this table, you see the transition rates measured for the rigid packaging application, the cups and the trays. You will hear in the next presentation. And the measured values for the rigid packaging systems correlates with the values of the films. Due to the thickness here of the rigid structures, we receive really low transmission values. And these values gives us the possibility or the suitability to use the materials for MIP packaging concepts which were used in the project. And then I think I start with the key messages, the outcomes of the work. So the processing of the PHBV is not easy due to the brittleness and the slow crystallization of the material, and also the processing window has to be adapted in a detailed or a good way. The compounding of the composites or blends of PHBV was successfully performed, either at lab or pilot scale, and it was possible also to produce several running meters for the thermoforming process based on the commercial grade, but also we extruded the IBET project material with our pilot unit at Fraunhofer, and the low permeabilities in comparison to other biopolymers are really good, and so it is possible to use for MIP application, as I said before. And I think Helene will close the presentation.
The question. So, is there any interest to produce PHBV with HB content for food packaging application? The answer is yes, if you consider the lower oxygen and water permeability that is obtained. But regarding the mechanical property, only a little increase of the elongation at break has been reached, which is not enough to produce flexible films from pure PHBV if it's not blended with other biopolymers. And also to increase the HB content has no positive impact if the copolymerization step is not well controlled. So we have to target block copolymers. If the purification steps are not well controlled, and also if the processing conditions are not well controlled. So it is yes, but we have to control a lot of parameters after this bacterial synthesis. We have also to study case by case all the produced PHBV to define these parameters. So, and in perspectives, we think that it's very important to study the impact of HB content on the ability to be blended or associated with other biopolymers. And another perspective would be also to study the impact of the purity on the properties of materials to develop PHBV materials for ad hoc applications. So for food packaging, we need very pure materials to avoid the creation of contaminants, but for many applications, maybe this high purity is not required. So we thank you for your attention.
Thank you, Helene and Cornelia. So I'd like to open the session for questions. We'd like to start with